Hello and good evening. I'm Ralph Tampubolon.
And I'm Fifi Aledayahya, and you are watching Asia Prime on Metro Globe Network. We are live from Jakarta. We are updating you with the latest stories from Israel-Palestine conflict. The two agreed for ceasefire.
The classic Indonesian movie Cut Nyak Dien has been restored and is playing again in cinemas 33 years since it first played in Indonesia.
Alice in Wonderland opens in London. The multimedia dive into the origins and inspiration of Lewis Carroll's tales. Israel on Thursday announced a ceasefire in the bruising 11-day war against Hamas. This conflict caused widespread destruction in the Gaza Strip and brought life in much of Israel to a standstill. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office announced a ceasefire after a late-night meeting of his security cabinet. It said the group had unanimously accepted an Egyptian proposal, though the sides were still determining exactly when it was to take effect. One member of the Security Cabinet said the ceasefire would take effect at 2 a.m., roughly 3 hours after the announcement. The agreement would close the heaviest round of fighting between the bitter enemies since a 50-day war in 2014, and once again, there was no clear winner. Israel inflicted heavy damage on the Palestinian, but was unable to prevent the rocket fire that has disrupted life for millions of Israelis. for more than a decade. Israel launched hundreds of airstrikes during the operation, targeting what it said was Hamas military infrastructure, including a vast tunnel network. Hamas and other militant groups embedded in residential areas have fired over 4,000 rockets at Israeli cities, with hundreds falling short and most of the rest intercepted. This war at least killed 230 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials, while 12 people in Israel have died.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden credits the Egyptian government for playing a crucial role in brokering the ceasefire and says he and top White House aides were intensely involved in an hour-by-hour effort in order to stop the bloodletting.
Discussions, hour by hour, literally. Egypt, the Palestinian Authority, and other Middle Eastern countries, with the name of avoiding the sort of prolonged conflict we've seen in previous years when the hostilities have broken out. I extend my sincere gratitude to President al-Sisi and the senior Egyptian officials who played such a critical role in this diplomacy. I also appreciate the contributions of other parties in the region who've been engaged in working toward the end of hostilities. These hostilities have resulted in the tragic deaths of so many civilians, including children. And I send my sincere condolences to all the families, Israeli and Palestinian, who have lost loved ones, and my hope for a full recovery for the wounded. We will do this in full partnership with the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, Authority, in a manner that does not permit Hamas to simply restock its military arsenal. I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy.
The United Nations welcomes the ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. It also asks Egypt and Qatar to coordinate closely with the World Organization to help restore calm to Gaza and Israel, and called on all sides to observe the ceasefire. The Secretary General stressed that Israeli and Palestinian leaders have a responsibility to the restoration of calm and start a serious dialogue to address the root causes of the conflict. He said Gaza is an integral part of the future Palestinian state. Guterres underscored the United Nations' deep commitment to working with Israelis and Palestinians and with international and regional partners to return to the path of meaningful negotiations, to end the occupation and allow for the realization of two-state solution on the basis of the 1967 lines, UN resolutions, international law, and mutual agreements.
Ceasefire between Gaza and Israel after 11 days of deadly hostilities. I extend my deepest condolences to the victims of the violence and their loved ones. I commend Egypt and Qatar for the efforts carried out in close coordination with the UN to help restore calm to Gaza and Israel. And I call on all sides to observe the ceasefire.
أن الجهود المبذولة من مصر وأطراف الأخرى قد أثمرت وقفاً وشيكاً لإطلاق النار نأمل أن يدوم. فأي أرواح يمكن إنقاذها تستحق بذل كل جهد ممكن لآخر مدى متاح. إن الجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة تمثل المحفل الجامع الذي تلتقي فيه مختلف الدول كأسرة واحدة لكي تطرح مواقفها ورؤاها تجاه مختلف القضايا الدولية. ولطالما كانت الجمعية العامة هي الإطار الأهم الذي تشارك فيه كافة الدول الأعضاء على قدم المساواة، وتتخذ فيه من القرارات التي تعكس ما توافقت عليه الأسرة الدولية تجاه مختلف القضايا والتحديات في ضوء مبادئ ميثاق الأمم المتحدة ومحددات القانون الدولي.
Meanwhile, cheers and whistles rang out across Gaza City early Friday as a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas came into effect across the.
Palestinian families who were living in shelters at UN schools are returning to their homes Friday as a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas came into effect. When the fighting intensified, many had gathered their children and belongings and fled to neighborhood on the outskirts of Gaza City.
And please do stay with us here as we have more stories from other parts of the globe. You're watching Asia Prime on Metro Globe Network.